You have been told your entire life that the world is divided into two opposing camps, the believers and the atheists. You think they are enemies. You see them arguing on television, writing books against each other, and fighting over the existence of God. The believer points to the sky and says there is a creator. The atheist points to the earth and says there is only matter. They look like opposites. They sound like opposites. But if you look deeply into their psychology, you will discover a hilarious cosmic joke. The atheist and the believer are exactly the same. They are twin brothers suffering from the exact same disease. What is this disease? It is the intolerance of mystery. It is the desperate psychological need to have a final conclusion. The human ego is terrified of the unknown. It cannot stand in a dark room without trying to turn on a light, or at least inventing a ghost to explain the darkness. To stand in the unknown and simply say, "I do not know," requires immense courage. It requires a tremendous centering of your being. Neither the believer nor the atheist has this courage. Both are cowards, hiding behind conclusions. The believer has concluded, yes, God exists. Has he seen God? No. Has he experienced the divine? No. He has simply read a book written by dead men thousands of years ago, and he has borrowed their conclusion. He clings to his yes because it makes him feel safe. The atheist has concluded, no, God does not exist. Has he explored the deepest dimensions of human consciousness? No. Has he sat in silent meditation until the mind disappeared? No. He has simply looked through a telescope, dissected a frog, and concluded that because he cannot measure God with a ruler, God must not exist. He clings to his no because it makes him feel intellectually superior. Both have closed their minds. Both have turned the living, breathing, infinite mystery of existence into a dead intellectual formula. A concluded mind is a dead mind. Only a mind that is open, wondering, and completely free of conclusions can experience the truth. Let us first look at the blindness of the believer. Why do people believe in God? If you take away all the theological nonsense, all the beautiful poetry, all the philosophical arguments, you will find only one thing at the root of belief: fear. The believer is afraid. He is afraid of death. He is afraid of illness. He is afraid of the immense, silent emptiness of the universe. When a man is terrified, he wants a father figure. He wants a protector. So he projects his own psychological need onto the sky and invents a god. This god is nothing but a cosmic bodyguard, a cheap insurance policy against the uncertainties of life. Watch the believer when he prays. He does not pray out of gratitude. He prays out of greed and panic. He goes to the temple and says, "Give me a better job. Cure my wife's illness. Protect my children." He is treating the creator of the universe like a servant, like a bellboy. There is no love in this. There is only a business transaction. I will give you a coconut. I will light a candle, and in return you will give me a winning lottery ticket. The believer is completely blind to reality because his eyes are covered by scriptures. If a beautiful sunset happens, he doesn't just experience the sunset. He says, "Look at the glory of God's creation." He brings a concept between himself and reality. He lives in a second-hand world. He borrows his morality from the priest. He borrows his cosmology from a holy book, and he borrows his salvation from a Messiah. He has never taken a single original step into the unknown. He is a parrot, repeating words he does not understand. And the tragedy is, this parrot thinks he is an eagle soaring in the spiritual sky. Belief is a plastic substitute for experience. The man who truly knows the divine has no need for belief. Do you believe in the sun? Do you believe in the wind? No. You feel the warmth on your skin. You feel the breeze in your hair. Belief is only required when the experience is missing. The very fact that religions demand faith is absolute proof that they are selling you something you have not experienced. Now, let us look at the atheist. The atheist looks at the believer, sees the stupidity of the rituals, sees the corruption of the priests, and he laughs. He says, "I am a rational man. I am a man of science. I do not believe in these fairy tales." He thinks he has rebelled. He thinks he is free, but his freedom is an illusion. The atheist is entirely dependent on the believer. If religion disappears tomorrow, the atheist will disappear the day after. The atheist has no independent philosophy. His entire identity is a reaction against the priest. If there is no one claiming God exists, the atheist has nothing to argue against. He is a shadow of the believer. While the believer is driven by fear, the atheist is driven by arrogance. He is intoxicated by the intellect because science has managed to split the atom, build computers, and cure diseases. The atheist has concluded that the intellect can solve everything. He believes that reality is only that which can be weighed, measured, and calculated in a laboratory. But what a tiny, impoverished, miserable reality that is. The atheist looks at a rose. The mystic looks at the rose and is overwhelmed by its beauty, its fragrance, its silent poetry. The mystic dances. But the atheist, the mechanical, materialist mind, takes the rose into the laboratory. He cuts it into pieces. He analyzes its chemical composition. He says, "The rose is nothing but water, carbon, and a few minerals." He is factually correct, but he is existentially completely wrong. By cutting the flower into pieces, he destroyed the very beauty he was trying to understand. You cannot find the beauty of a rose by analyzing its chemistry. You cannot find the genius of a painting by analyzing the chemical makeup of the paint. You cannot find love by dissecting a human heart. The atheist has reduced the universe to dead matter. He says existence is just a blind collision of atoms, without meaning, without consciousness, without a soul. He has turned a magnificent, dancing, living cosmos into a cold, mechanical factory. And by reducing the universe to a machine, he has reduced himself to a machine. If there is no consciousness in the universe, then your own consciousness is just a biological accident. Your love is just a chemical reaction in the brain. Your joy is just a hormonal fluctuation. Do you see the tragedy of the atheist? In his desperate attempt to avoid being fooled by the priest, he has fooled himself into believing he is a robot. He has traded the illusion of a cosmic dictator for the depression of a meaningless void. The fundamental mistake of both the believer and the atheist is exactly the same. They both treat God as an object. The believer thinks God is a supreme object, a person sitting somewhere above the clouds, managing the affairs of the universe, keeping a ledger of your sins and virtues. He treats God as a thing that can be pleased, angered, or persuaded. The atheist accepts this exact same foolish definition. The atheist says, "You say there is a supreme object above the clouds? Fine, let us point our telescopes at the sky. Let us send our rockets into space." Yuri Gagarin went into space and he came back and said, "I did not see any God, therefore God does not exist." Do you see the utter stupidity of both? If I tell you that love exists, will you ask me to put love in a test tube so you can measure its weight? If I tell you that poetry exists, will you ask me to put the poem under a microscope to find the molecules of meaning? No, because love and meaning are not objects. They are experiences. The divine is not an object you can find at the end of a telescope. The divine is not a person. The divine is a quality. It is the very ground of existence. It is the invisible intelligence that makes a seed burst into a flower, that makes the planets revolve, that makes your heart beat in your chest without any effort on your part. When the mystic says God, he does not mean a person. He means godliness. He means the absolute, mysterious totality of all that is. The believer looks for an object to worship. The atheist looks for an object to disprove. Because they are both looking for an object, they both completely miss the subject. They miss the consciousness that is doing the looking. The ultimate reality is not something you look at. It is the very awareness through which you are looking. You are searching the entire universe for the very eyes you are using to search. Why do both the atheist and the believer fall into this trap? Because they both rely exclusively on the intellect. The intellect is a wonderful tool for survival. If you want to build a bridge, cure a disease, or calculate the distance to the moon, the intellect is absolutely necessary. But the intellect has a fatal limitation. It can only understand things by dividing them. The mind operates through duality. It cuts reality into fragments, hot and cold, light and dark, subject and object, creator and creation, life and death. The mind cannot conceive of a reality that is whole, undivided, and contradictory. Theology, the philosophy of the believer, is just intellectual gymnastics. It is the mind trying to define the undefinable. The theologian writes massive encyclopedias trying to explain the exact nature of God. But the moment you define reality, you confine it. The moment you put a boundary around the infinite, it becomes finite. It becomes dead. Science, the philosophy of the atheist, is also the intellect at work. Science cuts, analyzes, and fragments. It knows how the mechanism works, but it knows absolutely nothing about the meaning of the mechanism. Both the believer and the atheist are sitting in the dark, arguing about the nature of light. The believer quotes a holy book describing the light. The atheist quotes a physics textbook describing the photon. But neither of them has simply opened the window to let the sun in. To know the truth, you must transcend the intellect. You must leave the mind behind. The intellect is like a flashlight in a dark room. It can illuminate one small corner at a time, but it leaves the rest of the room in darkness. Meditation is not a flashlight. Meditation is turning on the main switch. Suddenly, the whole room is flooded with light and the divisions disappear. Sometimes a man becomes tired of the argument. He sees the blind faith of the believer and the arrogant certainty of the atheist, and he decides to take a middle path. He becomes an agnostic. He says, maybe God exists, maybe He doesn't. We cannot know for sure. I suspend my judgment. The agnostic appears to be very wise. He appears to be very balanced and scientific. But look a little deeper, and you will see that the agnostic is the biggest coward of all. The believer has taken a risk, even if it is a foolish one. The atheist has taken a risk, even if it is an arrogant one. But the agnostic refuses to take any risk at all. He sits on the fence. He is neither hot nor cold. He is lukewarm. And existentially, a lukewarm man is dead. He has no fire. The agnostic uses "I don't know" as an excuse to go to sleep. He says, since we cannot know the ultimate truth, why bother? Let us just eat, drink, and make money. Let us just live a comfortable, superficial life. His agnosticism is just a polite way of hiding his absolute lack of spiritual thirst. He is not a seeker. He is just a clever debater who has found a safe corner to hide in. True spiritual ignorance, the beautiful, innocent "I do not know" of the mystic, is totally different from the dry "I don't know" of the agnostic. The agnostic says it and goes to sleep. The mystic says, "I do not know," and his eyes open wide with wonder. His ignorance becomes a passionate, burning quest. It becomes a tremendous romance with existence. Do not be a believer. Do not be an atheist. And above all, do not fall into the comfortable trap of the agnostic. You must find a completely different dimension of being. If belief is a disease and atheism is a blindness, then what is the alternative? How does a true seeker approach the mystery of existence? The true seeker takes the third path, the path of direct experience. The mystic does not say, I believe. The mystic does not say, I disbelieve. The mystic says, I want to know. And knowing is a completely different phenomenon than believing. If you are thirsty and I give you a glass of water, do you sit there and say, I believe this water will quench my thirst? Or do you look at the glass and say, I am a rationalist, I need scientific proof that this liquid is H2O before I consume it? No. If you are truly thirsty, you do not theorize about the water. You drink it. The drinking is the knowing. Once you have drunk the water, the thirst disappears. You do not need a priest to validate your experience, and you do not need a scientist to measure your satisfaction. The experience is self-evident. It is its own proof. God or truth or existence, whatever name you wish to give, it is not a philosophy to be debated, it is a water to be drunk. But humanity has lost its thirst. You are satisfied with plastic bottles with the word water printed on them. The believer hugs the plastic bottle and prays to it. The atheist analyzes the plastic bottle and declares it is just petroleum. Neither of them takes the cap off. Neither of them drinks. To know the divine, you must drop all your borrowed knowledge. You must become completely naked psychologically. You must throw away the Bible, the Quran, the Gita, and the physics textbooks. You must stand in the rain without an umbrella of concepts. Only then can the drops touch your skin. Only then is there communion. The atheist is very proud of his science, but his science is only half of the equation. Science looks outward. It focuses its energy entirely on the object, the stars, the cells, the atoms, the market economy. It is the exploration of the not me. But the mystic asks a very dangerous question, a question that makes the atheist very uncomfortable. You have discovered the atom, you have mapped the galaxies, but who is the one doing the discovering? Who is the observer looking through the telescope? Who is the consciousness behind the microscope? The atheist has completely forgotten the scientist. He is so obsessed with the object that he has lost the subject. This is why modern man is so powerful yet so miserable. He knows everything about the world, but he knows absolutely nothing about himself. He has conquered the moon, but he has lost his own soul. Mysticism is the science of the inner. It is the exact same spirit of inquiry, but the direction is reversed. Instead of turning the light of awareness outward onto the world of matter, the mystic turns the light of awareness inward, 180 degrees onto the source of consciousness itself. The mystic's laboratory is not filled with test tubes and Bunsen burners. The mystic's laboratory is his own body, his own mind, his own breath. And his method is not calculation, his method is meditation. Through meditation, the mystic begins to dissect his own inner reality. He watches his thoughts and he realizes, I am not these thoughts. They are just passing clouds. He watches his emotions and he realizes, I am not this anger, I am not this sadness, they are just ripples on the lake. He watches his body and he realizes, I am not this flesh, it is just the vehicle. He keeps peeling the onion, layer by layer, going deeper and deeper into the subject. And when the final layer is peeled away, when the mind becomes absolutely silent, an explosion happens. The observer and the observed become one. The drop slips into the ocean and the ocean slips into the drop. This is not a belief. This is the most empirical, scientific, direct experience a human being can have. And until you have this experience, you are simply playing word games in the dark. Why is this inner science so difficult? Why do people prefer the cheap comfort of belief or the arrogant certainty of atheism? Because the path of direct experience requires the death of the ego. Both the believer and the atheist have very strong, very polished egos. The believer says, my religion is the only truth. God gave his book only to my prophet. I am the chosen one and everyone else is going to hell. It is an ego trip disguised as humility. Have you ever noticed how aggressive holy people can be? They are ready to kill you to save your soul. The atheist is on the exact same ego trip, just wearing different clothes. He says, I am educated, I am rational, I am superior to these primitive, superstitious fools. His ego feeds on his intellect. But when you enter the laboratory of meditation, the ego cannot come with you. The ego is made of thoughts, and meditation is the cessation of thought. The ego is made of the past and the future, and meditation is absolute presence in the now. To know the truth, the I must disappear. You cannot meet the divine as a Christian, as a Hindu, as an atheist, or as a scientist. You can only meet the divine as a nobody. You have to leave your identity, your degrees, your scriptures, and your arguments outside the temple door. This is why people are terrified of meditation. They are terrified of losing themselves. They would rather cling to a false identity than melt into the infinite. They are like a river that is terrified of entering the ocean. The river says, if I merge with the ocean, I will lose my name, I will lose my boundaries, I will die. Yes, the river will die as a river, but it will become the ocean. The believer and the atheist are both trying to protect their little rivers. They are trying to defend their boundaries. But the mystic dances all the way to the delta, laughing, ready to dissolve into the vast, nameless, formless mystery of existence. When you finally drop the ego, when you finally enter the silent laboratory of meditation, a tremendous realization happens. You realize that God is not a noun, God is a verb. A noun is a dead thing, a chair is a noun, a stone is a noun. But existence is not dead. Existence is an ongoing, pulsing, vibrant process. Therefore, it is much better to drop the word God entirely, because it has been corrupted by the priests. It carries the baggage of 2000 years of superstition. Use the word godliness. Godliness is a quality. It is the greenness of the tree. It is the wetness of the water. It is the silent, radiant awareness shining through your eyes right now. When a dancer is completely lost in the dance, there is no dancer left, there is only the dance. That pure, unself-conscious dance is godliness. The believer looks up at the sky and asks, where is the Creator? The atheist looks at a microscope and asks, where is the Creator? But the mystic looks at the flower and says, the Creator has become the creation. The painter paints a picture, and when the picture is finished, the painter walks away. The picture is separate from the painter, but existence is not a painting, it is a dancer. You cannot separate the dancer from the dance. If you try to catch the dancer, the dance stops. The universe was not created from the outside. It grew from the inside. It is blossoming right now in this very moment. You are not a stranger here. You are not a biological accident, and you are not a sinner waiting to be judged. You are the universe waking up and experiencing its own magnificent beauty. If both belief and atheism are dead ends, then what is the true religion? The true religion is love. I am not talking about the biological attachment you call love. I am not talking about the jealous, possessive, desperate clinging that happens between two egos. I am talking about love as a state of being. The atheist is dry. His logic has made his heart barren. The believer is fearful. His superstitions have made his heart small. Neither of them knows how to love. The believer only loves God because he wants a reward in heaven. That is not love, that is business. But when you truly experience the mystery of existence, when you stand before a mountain or a silent starry night without a single thought in your head, a deep, overwhelming reverence arises in you. You do not need to bow down to a statue. Your very breathing becomes a bow. Your very existence becomes a prayer of gratitude. When you operate from this state of godliness, you cannot be violent. You cannot drop bombs. You cannot exploit your fellow human beings. Why? Because you realize that the same consciousness that is looking through your eyes is looking through their eyes. To hurt another is to hurt yourself. To exploit nature is to destroy your own body. True religion has no name. It has no holy book. It has no temples and no priests. Its only temple is the entire cosmos. And its only scripture is silence. So I say to you, drop this foolish, childish argument. Stop arguing over conclusions you have not experienced. Leave the atheist to his dry mathematics and leave the believer to his dusty scriptures. Let the dead bury the dead. You must choose life. Tear off the labels. Do not call yourself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, or an atheist. These are all psychological prisons. These are all cages designed to keep your mind small and manageable. Break the cage, spread your wings, and fly into the unknown sky. Have the courage to say, I do not know. Reclaim your innocence. Look at a tree not as a botanist and not as a theologian, but as a child looking at it for the very first time. Let the wonder return to your eyes. The mystery of life is not a problem to be solved. It is a reality to be experienced. Do not try to conquer the universe with your intellect. Do not try to bribe the universe with your prayers. Simply become completely silent, melt into the present moment, and let the universe conquer you.